How y'all doing? It's Judge Lynn. Hope you're having a good day. I'm having a good day. I'm painting right now, but I got mad at myself the other day because I was the kind of girlfriend I didn't used to like to be. You know how well, you know, you could be a group of women or dudes, and then somebody falls in love, and then they fall out of the group. And I fooled around, and is there something? Oh, yeah, fell in love with Big Boy. And I left little Lynn and median mama over there alone and sad. So I went to Home Depot. I didn't go to Home Depot. Ooh, that whole thing moved. I went to Hobby Lobby and I got mosaic tiles and I put them in little Lynn. See there? See the floor there? Those are my mosaic tiles, and there's three different patterns in that little itty bitty space. That was not a good thing to do, but is what happened. And then, so Big Boy, ha ha. You can see I put on, I got wallpaper in there. I put this extra trim on and stuff. And then I got these, I think I'm going to paint them different colors and do a little pattern and do that. Or I might go back to Hobby Lobby and buy bigger ones of these and make another thing. And I think I got a book. Anyway, things that excite me are so silly, but they do. But they're that's an update on Little Lynn and Big Boy, Medium Mama over there. I think we're gonna have to peace out. Can't find the replacement part. Oh, I suppose I got a, I got a saw. Maybe I could. That's what I'm gonna do. Uh, That's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna try that. I'm not gonna tell you what it is in case I can't pull it off. So that's what I'm gonna do. I want to answer a question. Thomas said something to me the other day. He asked me, he says, "What do you do with all your money? You didn't put it in your house. You need to help with your house. You no artwork, no design, no flowers, no color. Put some money in the house. It needs work, and this is with love." Well, Thomas, with love, I don't care. You know what I mean? I dress like this. Why would I care what my house looks like? It needs to be neat. It needs to be cool and clean. It can't be gross and whatnot. But I don't need a whole bunch of decorations. I have some decorations. I got things on the wall every once here and there. But I live here, and so did Eric, and I did not care. We were not into flashy, big, or whatever. The house is supposed to hold you in. It's supposed to keep your contents. It's a place where you're home and you feel good. It's not you know. I put my money where my parents used to say, if you can look around your house, in your garage, in your closet, and see all your money, you're not doing it right. You're not supposed. The people who come to your house should not be impressed with your house. The only people need to be impressed with what you have is the investment banker and the bank that you have it in. That's what my parents taught me. And my father made me get an investment account when I was 12. But everybody's who they are, and it's not, my house will never be a show place. Now, my sister's house is gorgeous. She has black granite floors. She's got, I mean, the lighting and my kids came home and said, you need to have your Aunt Kathy do some interior design for you. I'm like, no, no, no. I like her house when I go over there, but I like my house when I'm here. Just low, just basic, basic home, basic home for a basic check. And that's basically what I'm about. So I appreciate the love. Conspicuous consumption. But my parents always told me to live beneath my means, so that you don't see it, you can just feel it. And so that's where I put my money, not where I can see it. So, and I don't care. My breasts look really big in this shirt. I hate it. I didn't realize that. I haven't seen this shirt in a while. I was cleaning out my closet. This is going right in the trash. I had another question from a woman who said she's been raised by a single mom, strong, and she's accustomed to mature women. She was physically attracted to this guy. He's really nice. He's sensitive. There's no other problems. And she says he's someone a younger woman would be thoroughly impressed with. And what she's saying is he's a great guy, but he's sweet. He needs too much coddling. He needs too much help, too much support and all this kind of stuff. And and, and she says, I, I, I mean, everything is sensitive about him, and it's not the strong leader that I want. And the following things I will say is this: I understand what you want in a man because that's what I needed in Eric. Was like a strong dude. I couldn't have been with a guy who was hesitant because I was hesitant. And two hesitant people don't get nowhere. They just sit there hesitate. Ooh, that was weird. Didn't mean to do that. Ooh, hesitate. I was trying to do motion of stopping and starting, hesitating, and then it looked weird. But uh so I know that about myself that I couldn't be with a guy like that. But then again, on the other hand, my father was like that in some ways. He was very strong and assertive. He made money. He was strong, very clear headed, but he was a lot of work. I mean, a lot of work, and I was a lot of work. So just because somebody's a lot of work doesn't mean he's not to be worked with. But you got to ask him, is that the kind of work you want to do? Do you know what I'm saying? And understand that anybody you get is going to be some kind of work. So you gotta, what I like to say is, let's all, can you live with it long term, the things that you don't like? And do you love them enough that it's worth it? And do you think you can work with them? Eric worked with me. I got better over time. In fact, my father got better over time. It was a long time and I was a lot of work. And the reason I know it was a lot of work because he told me. Baby, you were a lot of work. And I said, yes, I was. And I didn't realize how much work I was until I had done some more work on myself to realize, oh my God, he must have been outdone by how many times. So I asked him, do you think it's okay? Do you think it's okay? Do you think it's okay? I would have run from me, but he didn't, thank God. And so I don't know if that was any help or not, but I had to I had to support my own kind. Such shy, scary people that need a lot of love, care, and support. But that don't mean that's your job, baby. Because I couldn't have married him because I was him. So I don't think I helped you at all. But we talked about it. I had to buy another glue gun yesterday. I got two broken glue guns, one working glue gun. I go through glue guns like nobody's business. But anyway, what was I supposed to be painting? Anyway, uh, somebody else had a question. Oh, uh, she was saying no matter what she and her man were talking about, they just argue off rip. They just argue about everything, and it doesn't matter who brings it up. It doesn't matter who's upset. It doesn't matter what the problem is. That no matter what goes wrong, no matter how small it is, or how big it is, they just immediately get into an argument. And what do? First thing you do, you just have to interrupt the cycle. If you don't be quiet, don't nobody want to hear what you got to say. Interrupt the cycle. Don't worry about getting the problem solved. Just interrupt the cycle. So let's say about to say something, both of you agree to do this. We ain't arguing and go to neutral corners. Now it won't be you have to work, you have to make plans for this when you're not upset because people want to address upset when they're upset, and that's the least likely time to address upset. Right now is rarely the right time to start a contentious argument. You know what I mean? Like, I tell you this, I used to do something, used to drive my husband to distraction. I lose stuff. He never loses anything because he's very organized. He's an accountant. He traces things for a living. I swear he could trace a penny around the world, come back with that same penny. Oh, I used to hate tax season. Baby, you spent $7.27 on May 5th in California. What'd you buy? Because he had to itemize. Ooh, wee. Made me a crazy person. And I used to just hog receipts and just give it to him, just like hoping but I never got them all. But anyway, why did I get into that? Oh, about people arguing off rip. So when I would lose something and would be desperately trying to find it, he would be giving me a lecture on putting your stuff away. Now, it seems like the appropriate time for it, but it wasn't. I was actively upset about what I couldn't find. And him just actively critiquing me in that moment was of assistance to no one. It upset us both. And so what I did was, and this is what my mother taught me to do. She says, you never get into it when you first feel it, the first upset. You just let the first wave pass you by. My father was a very mercurial dude, and he was a lot of work. And she said, I never forgot what I needed to tell him, but I never told him anything he wasn't ready to hear. And he may not be ready to hear what I got to tell him for 6, 7 months from the time that I wanted to tell him, but I never forget it. But the thing is, just hold on to the lesson without holding on to the anger. She said, I didn't ruminate on it. We talked about the word ruminate the other day. I didn't obsess on it. But what I hung, and when he was in the right frame of mind at the right time or circumstance, she would say something. Now, Bill, you see how he did that? He said, remember 6 weeks ago or 6 months ago, whenever. He said, if you could do that for me instead of what you did, that would be so much more helpful. Mom was about process and procedure and product. So when you're talking about a conversation, you might want to write down what it is you want to talk about. Because sometimes you don't even know what you're mad about. And you write it out and you write it through, and sometimes you realize you're the problem. Or I've done that. Or and then you guys put in process and procedure in place for difficult conversations. That's what you do. I said, okay, I've got one. Whatever you want to use, I've got one. My husband and I would, but by the time we really figured out how to get it done, I come in there and said, I'm on one. He back up. Okay. Now that would and I wouldn't yell and I wouldn't scream. I usually would start in the middle of the story, which would drive him crazy. So he would say, "My baby, some facts are missing." Mhm. And we finally got it down to where we could have conversations with super long pauses in them. What you never understood about that was this. Huh. Well, maybe if next time you do that, we can do it this way. Huh. you know? But you got the time to decide not to get angry about anything is before you get mad about anything at all. You guys to have processes, procedures to handle your conversations. And that's what the conversation should be about. And that processes and procedure should work. And if it doesn't work, you tinker with it. You move around with it. You do different things with it. But you have a process and procedure problem because everything you discuss becomes an argument. I did a course in this app called Himalaya about how to have a conversation. It was I just thought it was the most important thing. It's like how to have a conversation, and the listening is important, and making sure you hear what that person actually said. Because half time in divorce court, I used to always do this. Tell me what he just said, and then she and I said that's not what he said. Or I would tell her, tell me what she just said. Nobody was ever close. They weren't hearing the other person now. All they knew was, okay, we're on this subject matter, and I feel she feels like this about this subject matter, and I feel like this about how she feels, and so that's where I am. And you don't hear them anymore. And you have to hear people. Listening is very important. And then you have to speak in a voice that they can hear, both sides. And you can practice. And you can just make it a point to do when nothing is at issue. And then when the first issue comes, it won't work out right. It won't be but you figure it out over time and get better at it and better at it and better at it. I don't have a word of the day. If it doesn't come up on me organically, I ain't gonna try to force it. Y'all have a wonderful Saturday or Sun. Oh, well, and I shouldn't do that. It tells my age, doesn't it? Because things live forever, and I don't think that way. So anyway, y'all have a great day. No arguing, no fussing. Let the first wave pass you by. Feelings are fleeting, felonies are forever. Never forget that. The whole idea is have fun. Don't go to jail.